Hi everybody, what's up? This is a short but important class. I start with the 4 tools we are using while painting in watercolor. So water, of course, paper, color, brushes. So start with water. The kind of water we are gonna use? No, it's a joke, okay? Water is water. So colors. Colors can be sold in tubes and godets. Godet is a small pressed brick of watercolor. I used that for a while, then I shift for the tubes because are more practical. Because when you want to change your palette, and when I say palette, I mean any kind of support where you can prepare a wash, water and pigment. If you want to change, it's quite easy to do that with a tube because you can fill up another palette. So there are lots of slots here in a typical plastic palette. This was just 10 euros. The palette is up to you. Someone used just porcelain plates. If you want to use metal or plastic palette, it doesn't matter. I use plastic palette because if they fall down in the ground, there's no any kind of problem. They don't break. In a palette like this, it's easy to fill and refill the color. There are many good brands of color that you can buy, for instance, in internet. My suggestion is not to buy student or cheap quality series of watercolor because you lose a lot in terms of luminosity, in terms of quality and strength in the color. You must buy professional ones. There are many huge brands on internet. If you have a search on Amazon, for instance, that's why I don't give you brands, okay? Just have a look and choose what you prefer. For instance, if you live in countries where the art of watercolor is really diffuse and famous, all of these countries also have small but good producers. Watercolor tubes are sold generally in 4 sizes. The smallest one is 5 milliliters. Then we have the medium size, which the one I prefer, 50 milliliters. Then we have 37 milliliters. And then we have even a largest one. So my suggestion is to start with the smallest one. You test your colors. If you like it, you make your choices and then you buy the largest one, okay? Another important information for you is that if you want to recall which color you used, so there are many numbers actually in the B side of each tube. All the numbers or the codes you can find here are important. Every code defines a specific feature of your color. This is the topic for a separate video, but for the moment, the only thing we need to know is that we can recognize a specific color we used in the past if we record the brand and the number. Along the time you're getting used to the colors, you start knowing them and you create your own palette. Paper. All the paper used in watercolor is made 100% cotton. The texture of the paper could be 3 types: rough, satin and fine. The rough surface means that there is a rugosity, okay, on the paper. You can make a test. If you use a little bit of color and you use the brush in this way, parallel to the paper surface, and the brush creates on the paper some white spots on the surface, that is clearly an indication that the paper is rough. Some producers build the paper called in English market hot press, cold press. Well, cold press means just fine grain paper. Hot press means satin. The rough paper, that's the paper that I use daily. I assure you a correct behavior is 300 grams. Brushes. This is the typical oil painting brush. You can recognize it. The handle, which is quite long, and the hardness of the hair, which is comparable to the teeth brush, more or less. The watercolor brush, really short handle. The hair here is really soft, really soft. Basically 3 types. Soft squirrel brush, which is called on the market mop brush. You can type on Google keywords like watercolor, brush, squirrel, mop, but I suggest you to make a change, shift to a synthetic brush, because the technology today help us to reproduce the same behavior of a natural squirrel brush using a synthetic one. Do the same I do and save animals' life. Then, second type of brush is a brush with synthetic hair and a good point. If you want to go in details of a face, for instance, it's typical to use this. Also, if you do want to develop the illustration art, this is the best brush that you can use. The third kind of brush I use is to erase, like sweep out the color on the paper. In order to do that, you need a harder brush, flat brush. I will use always this to correct small mistakes, especially when painting human figures, human silhouettes. That's it. This is just an introduction. I spent many years testing, throwing, choosing, changing my mind about the material. So let's take this video as an introduction, just to start. Then we are going to come back to the topic and analyze other aspects of the material. Next video is about how to reuse a paper. It's useful for watercolor ones on the front side. So if you want to use it in the second side, you can use my technique. Have a good painting.